Today, the Democratic National Convention is kicking off in Chicago. Vice President Kamala Harris is hoping to capitalize on the momentum in her campaign. And President Biden is speaking tonight to pass her the torch, marking an end to his 50-plus-year career in politics. Here with us now for some insight into these big moments for the Democrats is political analyst Wendy Patrick. Wendy, welcome.
Thank you.
So we've gotten through the Republican National Convention. Now it's time for the Democrats to shine. It's been about a month since President Biden stepped aside. A whole new landscape of what they were planning for the past, several months. What is President Biden expected to do to energize the crowd?
Well, isn't that an interesting question? Because you used the word momentum earlier. The goal of the Democrats over the next couple of days is, can they turn the momentum into math? That's what they need between now and November. They want to win the election. They want to win the hearts of the American voters. But is Joe Biden the right person to energize a crowd? Now, he is beloved. He's going to receive a hero's welcome, but then he's going to receive a send-off. Because remember, it's going to be a passing of the torch. It's an awkward pivot for him politically and probably personally as well. Because as much as they talk about him stepping aside gracefully, that doesn't appear to have been what happened. That's not been the progression of events. And tonight is an opportunity to not just celebrate his career, but instead to talk about how do we now move forward into the future. So whether or not he's the energizing voice tonight, he's definitely a beloved voice that we will hear out, and then send him off with love as the next couple of days are about Kamala Harris.
You make a great point, because it did take a while for President Biden to step aside, repeated calls for him to step down over a few weeks. And tonight he was supposed to be the star, and here he is now introducing the rising star, if you will, and hopefully what the Democratic Party hopes is their next president. So the mood could be pretty interesting.
The mood has been interesting, and by virtue of the people in the room who have been reporting on what it's been like, they talk about excitement, giddiness. They keep talking about joyfulness. I don't know whether people are feeling joyful when they can't put gas in their car or groceries on the table, but I get what they're saying. It's almost a sense of relief. It's a sense of relief that they now have a candidate that's younger, that can energize a crowd. But these next couple of days are also going to have to be an effort to start this progression of redefinition. You mentioned they've had to find new speakers and really a new focus. And of course, Joe Biden, he expected to be speaking on the last night of the convention, not the first night. I can't even imagine how we must feel. And I'm sure a lot of people are really sympathetic to that. But what they're going to have to do now is not just start to redefine Kamala Harris, but really start to, as I would say, they can't just make this a closing argument. It has to be a matter of, show me the evidence. It's one thing to say, I'm going to be able to stop inflation and have a secure border and bring crime rates down. What have you done in the last however many, 3.5 years it's been? You can't talk about what you're going to do on day one, because your day one, at least in a sense, was 3.5 years ago.
So, right, it's in a way introducing a lot of voters, and the ones that they're hoping to grab in the battleground states, the undecided voters, introducing them to Kamala Harris.
Yes, it's introducing them to somebody that's been on the ticket in a number 2 slot for 3.5 years. So it's almost reintroducing them to a new candidate. But isn't that frustrating as well? You're going to have to say, well, yes, I've been number 2 for 3 years, but starting today, I'm someone new, with new policies, with new ideas, with fresh ideas. That's what she's going to need to do. We already know that she understands that, because that's what she's been saying in the limited number of teleprompter speeches that she's given. I almost want to say that after the convention, she's going to have to start doing some one-on-ones and talk about why she understands that she is a brand new candidate with brand new ideas.
So that's what I was going to ask you. What does Kamala Harris need to do to reach out to the undecided voters, people in her own party, and what does she have to do to win those battleground states?
She has to really convince everybody that she is more than flash over substance. It's one thing to say, oh, what an accomplishment, we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, when we keep seeing the prices going up. It's one thing to say, we have passed the Safe Communities Act, when crime rates are not going down at least enough for some of the people that live in some of these communities. So she's going to have to translate ideas into concrete plans that the American public can buy off on, because there's a lot of them, even in the Democratic side, that are saying, I had more money in my pocket 4 years ago when President Trump, regardless of what I think about his personality, was president.
So it will be interesting to see the mood that President Biden brings, because you did mention his very personal stance might be
yes.
a little conflicted, that he was supposed to be standing up there, and he is going to be speaking in just a few hours now.
My prediction is there's going to be such a rousing applause that when he stands up there, everybody is just going to be so loving that it's probably going to take quite a while for the crowd, for it to die down. Let's see if I'm right about that. But be that as it may, whatever he says, he is going to very graciously talk about, I almost said his running mate. His running mate of 4 years ago, his former running mate, now candidate in her own right. And then after that, I think the next 3 days are going to focus on Kamala, the candidate. I think tonight is really going to be honoring Joe Biden.
It has been a huge month of change for the Democratic Party.
Isn't that true?
So we will see what shapes up in the next few days. Thanks so much, Wendy. Appreciate you joining us again.